there was an article a little while ago that I read talking about it was the 11 weirdest solutions to the Fermi Paradox, and basically, if you're not familiar, what the Fermi Paradox is that if there's so much technology and so many, like, if people are saying that it's almost impossible for extraterrestrial life to not exist, it's like statistically impossible almost, then where is all the aliens? Like, you'd think we'd have ran into something at least now that would show us
Pass
something.
on the street.
Right? Well, no, not that. We already discussed that.
Starbucks.
So
Sitting
then
there complaining about the overpriced lattes.
This article is basically just talking about some of the weirdest solutions people have proposed as to why we haven't either had direct relationships and not relationships in that way, met an alien, or at least saw evidence that they existed. So, first of all, I want to ask you guys, why do you think that if there's so many planets and so many galaxies and stars and stuff like that have the potential to support life like there is here on Earth, or greater, or even lesser, why do you think we haven't come into contact with anything yet?
I think you can also go with the fact, like, they haven't come in contact with us. Maybe they haven't tried.
Yeah.
Because maybe they're in the same boat that we are. Because let's think of it like this. Like, yes, maybe there is, galaxy's vast. You can imagine that there's probably an alien species out there who has the potential to travel far into space. But let's, for instance, because if there's one thing that Star Trek did very well, then Star Trek did a lot of things well, but that prime directive they had made sense. Because it's like plausible that they would have the same thing in reality. Because you imagine the repercussions if you like interfere with like another species, or like if they're like looking at us and they see like, oh, we're not ready, this would completely blow their frickin' minds. Why even bother? I personally just think that maybe, and also I also think there's maybe not a lot of alien species out there that can travel between the stars, on a consistent basis. Because I think we were talking about last week, or that the way our physics is, and it's like theoretically impossible to go faster than the speed of light. So it's going to take them a long time. They better, pack up some stuff and get ready for a long trip.
Yeah, that's basically the easiest solution to the Fermi Paradox, is just that they're limited by physics, and they can't go faster than the speed of light. So no matter how much money or how much, like, if throw their entire, like, they can make it so that they have some sort of horrible dictatorship where it's basically slave labor to build this ship to travel to another planet, or have
they can't surpass physics.
Yeah, or have a sort of quarry and fleet sort of deal, right? But it doesn't matter. They're still not going to be able to get anywhere, right? Because they can't go faster than the speed of light. So.
Yeah, that kind of ties into what I was saying, because, well, what Danny was saying, and I was going to say, is that the galaxy, as you said, Danny, is pretty big. And
so I've heard.
Yeah, I've heard rumors, here and there.
I've been there once or twice, so.
Yeah, but just, think about that picture that Voyager sent a little while ago. Like, Earth is just this tiny blue blip. And they think about how big the actual galaxy is. That was a picture from Pluto. And when you think about it, it'd probably be kind of hard to just find the solar system, just on its own.
Yeah. Yes, if you do, well, I'm assuming that, we have ways of noticing planets or stars at least, right?
Yeah, but we still haven't noticed any other life.
And as far as they know, isn't it, is it even possible for a planet to form not near a sun? Like, out of any... Because there's no gravitational pull or anything.
No, I don't think so. I think it's possible for a planet to, fly out of a gravitational orbit, but it's not possible for one to form outside of one.
And if it did do that, I'm pretty sure that there would be no life form, at least not...
life would not be able to survive there.
Yeah, so...
Because we always have to look at the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah, Goldilocks zone.
Every star has a zone where, theoretically, life can exist because of the whole temperature... And
temperature, sun, climate,
pretty much, and that's just not us saying oh, we this is the way we see it, so this is the way it should be. No, is just like
That's how it is.
common sense.
Well, yeah.
Unless,
If it's too close, it's gonna burn. If it's too far away, it's too cold.
Yeah, exactly. That's
There's a
common
reason
sense.
it's called the Goldilocks zone.
Or like you can also like think about the fact, like, remember how a couple years ago NASA astrobiologists found life forms that can that grow with arsenic instead of phosphorus. So who knows? There's probably some there could be some really tripped out life form that can survive close to the sun.
Well, yeah, we can't even touch the rules of biology, but we can touch the rules of physics.
We are limited to our biology and the biology on Earth. We are only limited to that and whatever crap we find on Mars or Titan or whatever, if there's anything there.
Yeah.
But like we have said, we have heard through various sources that the galaxy is quite large. So
These are anonymous sources.
yeah, and they're passing it off as fact. But there could be a whole different form of biology that we can't even comprehend.
Xenobiology.
And let's take into consideration that, well, the observable universe is almost incomprehensibly large, and then that's only what we can see.
It's only getting bigger too.
Well, it's getting bigger, but there's a part we can't see. We don't know where it ends.
Yeah.
So, but
Actually,
what was I
now that
going
I
to
think about it, no,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was going to change the topic. So whatever you're going to say.
Okay, no, I'm still going. Like the Fermi Paradox kind of reminds me of a book that I like to read, the Ender's Game series.
Ooh, they're coming out with a movie.
Yes, I know they're coming out with a movie,
Is
Danny.
Harrison Ford in it, or is
He is in it.
Okay,
He's playing one of my favorite characters.
that's good.
But anyway, like in the series, humanity meets its first alien species, and they go to war over an understanding because one species is a hive mind. They don't understand individuality, and then humanity is humanity, and then war ensues. Spoilers: humanity wipes them out, except for one, and then
Because humans
I think
are
it's like-
awesome.
yeah, I think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 years before humanity actually meets its next alien species, which they encounter on some distant planet, and they're still just living in the forest. And their biology is actually very fascinating for what the author came up with.
When was it written? It's a pretty old book, isn't it?
85.
Oh yeah, I think it was, yeah, it was
Okay,
the
so it's not
80s.
that
It
old.
was the mid 80s.
Yeah, and well, they're still coming out with more. Next
Oh,
one
really?
comes out 4 days before my birthday. Hooray! Actually, no, that's a different series. Is it? No, it's not. 4 days before my birthday. I'm looking forward to it.
But yeah, I was also going to say that I like to imagine, even though it's probably not happening, but I like to imagine somewhere where it was like, sort of like the Mass Effect thing. I hate how we always go back to Mass Effect for some sort of a thing, but that's just how
But
good
we understand it.
Well, we
So
always go
good
back
of
to
a
Mass
fiction
Effect,
that
and
they
we always reference Star Trek too, because those are the two science fiction that seem plausible.
Well, I don't because I've never seen it, but
Well, Will and I do.
yeah. But anyway, I'd like to imagine something that like they have in Mass Effect, where there's like some sort of citadel and they're all gathering and milling about each other, and we just haven't been discovered or anything like that yet. So, what do you think the possibility of that is? That other species have met, but they just haven't either come across us or haven't come into contact with us for whatever reason.
I can see that.
Like maybe
Yeah,
we're
I can
some
sort of see. I don't see it as very plausible, but it is possible.
Yep, definitely.
like we're some backwater country that's just hard to get to. Well, not country, but backwater Blackwater. I can't speak. Backwater solar system that's
No
gonna
one
be
wants to
difficult
go
to
there.
get to. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
Going
feel like
out,
our
going
solar
way out
system is
there.
that
Oh yeah.
our solar system is that one street in a town that no one likes to drive down. That's pretty much how I feel about our solar system.
All right. Well, I guess
Yeah,
we can
that
start
sounds
addressing some of these ideas. I think we probably hinted on some of them, but basically the way this article goes is, and I'll link the article, but the one is the zoo hypothesis, and it's basically like we've been discovered, but they just leave us alone because it's like preserving the ecosystem sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
And so, and the part in that article also mentions what you said, Danny, the Star Trek's Prime Directive. What is that, just for clarification?
You're not allowed to interfere with the culture of an alien race. So say if an alien race hasn't developed warp technology in the Star Trek universe, you can't go and give them warp technology. Because that could that alters their natural evolution, I believe. Will, you can probably back me up on
Yeah,
this.
that's right.
So it's basically just don't interfere with them. Unless they have warp technology, do not touch them. Do not go anywhere near them. Just stay away.
So yeah, it could be that we're like some stop on a tour where they go, and here are the Earthlings, and look at them.
Everyone throw rocks at them.
Please do not feed the Earthlings. But I think that if that were true, and I guess depending on the background, if something like that were happening, where we were just, it seems sort of like condescending that we were just like these primitive animals, I don't think I'd take too kindly to that.
Well, no, considering like humanity has spent, I don't know, thousands of years thinking we're like the only humans, the only living beings on Earth, and we're...
Okay, we are the only living beings on Earth.
That was a terrible thing.
Well,
Shut up.
Okay, I worded that incorrectly as well.
In the galaxy or the universe.
Yeah, in the galaxy, yeah. That's what I meant in a terrible way. But it's more or less like that's like a big shot to us. Like we are insignificant. Really insignificant. And you should also be prepared for that, because if you look out into space and look in how vast it is, we are not just insignificant. It's incomprehensible how insignificant we actually are.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad. It's actually sad how insignificant we are.
But I think that if it got to a point where we did meet up with this race and they just basically said, yeah, we kind of kept you at arm's reach just because we didn't want to interfere with whatever it is that you're doing, for whatever reason, I think I could kind of respect that more than it was just, oh, you looked cute, so we kept you in a cage, right?
Like, you are my latest zoo pet thing. Now dance, monkeys, dance.
I think that I have if that was true, I think I would have more respect for the fact that they were trying to preserve our culture and our path.
Yeah.
But do you think that would be something that Earth would do, like we would do if we found planets with life on them? Or
That's what I would do.
I really don't know. I don't have much faith in humanity at this point.
I have no faith in humanity.
It's not really something that you can judge, because it's not a situation. I don't think we actually have protocols for that, do we?
Well, I think there are people trying to
alien species?
Yeah.
I think there are people trying to put
really.
into place protocol, but I don't think there actually exists anything yet. Considering I don't even think we have protocol for like galactic sovereignty. Considering like so we.
I think we decided that NERDcast gets the first flag on Mars.
Okay, so there we go. We do have a plan, but
A little bit.
Way to forget our role here. God,
Lee.
God damn it, Lee.
Get with the NERDcast picture.
So, but I think that would be, like I said before, kind of irresponsible. I think that we would have to at least make it known. Like, it would be kind of like knock on the door with the basket and say, hey, we're the neighbors, right? We're here, but you can do your own thing sort of deal, right?
Yeah.
I think that would be the responsible thing to do. Although then you could end up, like, getting horribly slaughtered or eviscerated by these people because they're like...
Which, let's be realistic, that's a pretty good possibility.
Or, on the other end of the spectrum, you could be worshipped as gods. And that'd be good.
That would be awesome. Oh, I could totally have my own cult. Cult Star Trek. Star Trekites.
And then they would start arguing about who believed in you more and what way, and...
It actually reminds me of something I thought of a little while ago. You know how followers of YouTubers usually have, like, this... I want you to keep this in, too. They have, like, names for the people that follow them.
Oh, yeah.
I figured out what the NERDcast followers should be.
Okay, what?
Nerdlings.
Nerdlings? Alright.
Nerdlings. Just throwing that out
Hello,
there.
nerdlings.
I like it. But, okay, back on topic. The second one for the article was, like, a self-imposed quarantine. So it's pretty much like, the opposite of the zoo thing. Like the...
So that we are aware, but we just choose to not go?
It would be like if we found aliens and we were just like, we don't want anything to do with them, right? Like, they could be dangerous, they could be whatever, right?
So
They
like
could...
those kids in high school that no one wants to talk to.
Yeah, it's just like it's sort of a paranoid thing, but it's also an option, right?
Yeah.
That's actually really plausible too.
Safety first.
So it could be that an alien race came or noticed Earth, noticed it had life, and was just like, I don't want any part of that. They're dangerous. They could like corrupt our society or whatever for whatever
And
reason.
then we tested out the A-bombs, and they decided to leave.
And they take a look at some of our world leaders and say to ourselves how crazy they are. North Korea.
No. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't speak our language, so they wouldn't know who was crazy and who wasn't. Or they wouldn't know our culture, so they wouldn't know what was normal and what wasn't on our planet. They wouldn't know anything about us. They would just see us doing stuff, and it would be like, interesting.
It could be like the unwritten rule of Mass Effect, where every alien speaks the same language.
You're not supposed to talk about that.
I could have sworn there was an explanation for that at one point.
Well, didn't they have an explanation for it in Star Trek? It was a universal translator.
Yeah, I think that's what they said for Mass Effect 2, but I'm not totally sure.
I think that the basic theory is that the Omni tool translates everything, but
yeah.
But they also,
anyways,
they also don't say whether or not everybody has an Omni tool. It's kind of implied.
Kids are born with an Omni tool.
Anyway, I could see that happening, right? Because it could be like, but although that would be kind of stupid, it would be like. If you did do something like that where you just kind of retreated from everything, it would be cowardly in my...
You're running away from the problem instead of facing it.
Because if you do see some sort of potential problem that could come up, like you could be taken over or something like that, you're just avoiding the problem, exactly. And it's... What's to stop them from rolling up over the galactic hill and just mowing you down, right? So, I don't really see that...
That kind of seems like just a sign of good faith, sort of. Like, we hope that you're not going to come and nuke us out of orbit someday.
It seems kind of like
Yeah.
if you're like in some sort of like stereotypically redneck area, and the old guy sitting on the porch with a shotgun, and it was like, you best not be taking one more step towards us.
You get off my lawn.
You just keep on walking, and then
Get off my lawn.
I just picture like Cletus from The Simpsons.
So, I don't know. Still, I think that would be an irresponsible thing if if that was a tactic that Earth took.
You should never run from your problems. Always face them. Unless you know you're going to die.
Considering this also kind of rules out diplomacy, because then we could go, oh, well, you kind of had your chance to talk when you met us, now you put yourself in a corner, right?
Well, the people of Earth are not really known for their diplomacy.
Yeah, I was going to say that, too.
I guess. We try.
Like, we're doing a great
diplomacy.
job with North Korea right now.
We're not going to get into that.
No, not right now.
But, the next one is the whack-a-mole hypothesis, it says here, and I'm trying to just glance over this to try to see what
I didn't
what it's about. But
it's kind of a prime directive effect.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. And it's also making parallels to like the day the Earth stood still, so sort of like
the day the Earth stopped.
Sorry, I'm just trying to read over this to see what's
Yeah, you're read and explain it to me because I'm lost.
I don't want to just sit and actually read it, because some of these are complicated, so... But,
Will, are you ready for story time?
I'm ready for story time. Always ready for story time.
I don't think Lee's ready for story time.
I'm ready
What
for
do you
story time.
Read us a story, Lee.
You want me to read this out?
Well, we're partially kidding, but if you insist.
Oh, it's kind of like, okay, I just got to the part that I was looking for. It'd be kind of like if it was, they would show up and look and say, they kind of take notes and check to see what's going on, right? And if things are going normal, then they just kind of let you go. But then they could show up and say, all right, well, you're doing this wrong, or you're kind of like, it could be any kind of technology. So it references like a technological singularity, right? So a sort of like God computer sort of deal. So it'd be like if you were making something that, or had some kind of technology that you were using improperly, then they would just come around and destroy you. Mm-hmm. But until that time, you would be left alone. So it would also be the prime directive, like you were mentioning, right?
So it's kind of like they're sort of just policing us.
Yeah, space police.
Space police in space.
So the only time they would interact with you was to either
smell
say, was to say, okay, look, you're doing this wrong, and you're either going to fix it or we're going to obliterate you, right? So.
Which would be nice, because it would be an overall fairly peaceful galactic society.
And out of all the ones that we've done so far, I could see this being Earth, and that scares me.
So do it our way, or we'll blow you out of the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then, something like that, like, there's no... there's no limit to what it could be, right? They could start off at some sort of technological singularity, and then they could move down to nukes, and then they could move down to, like, guns, and they could move down to fire, right? It could be like, as soon as the planet gets fire, they destroy everybody. So.
And then eventually it would, degrade something like, you did not put the cheese triangles opposite ways around on your sub, you must die.
Yeah, there's no really way to, like, there would be a lot of self-control. Something that Earth probably wouldn't have a lot of in a situation like this, so.
Yeah. Your Subway restaurants are doing it wrong. Fix it.
Your sandwich artists are pathetic.
Bask in our glory.
But the next one was, we're made out of meat, and it just kind of recaps a short story here. So it basically comes to the thought that they showed up, thought we looked really weird, and didn't really understand us, so they just said, yeah, we're just going to sweep that under the carpet and back away, right? Because
you can sort of see that.
They could be so totally different that they would just look at us and be like, what the hell are they doing?
Why are they all so weird?
They walk on two legs and put food in their mouths? Right? Like, in all honesty, that's probably what's going to happen the first time we meet some sort of alien life form.
Yeah.
Because it's the
Why
chances
does
of them.
Jackson fellow have a strange nose?
The chances of them being bipedal, with 2 eyes, 2 arms, 2 legs, normal, like, are. It's
Standard.
almost impossible.
Personally, I'm expecting squid aliens.
Well, considering they're probably the most hardy, that's actually probably like the most reasonable way an alien would be built, right? Something along the lines of that, with not really a bone structure, just a circulatory and nervous system sort of deal, right? Living in water.
I kind of feel like humanity's a fluke. I really do, but we need a bigger sample size.
Yes.
Like an off mutation.
As Neil deGrasse Tyson says, saying that there's no life in space would be like scooping a cup of water out of the ocean and saying there's no whales in the ocean. So.
It's really egotistical to say there's no life out in space. Because that's basically just saying, we are the only life here. We're all
I'm most special.
I want to be special.
Which is, I guess, it seems like sci-fi as a genre, and this is kind of on a tangent, but it seems like sci-fi as a genre has kind of transcended many topics and kind of broken, I guess, taboos, for lack of a better word, right? Just in the kind of way that, like, the thinking that we have to get over the fact that humanity won't be super all-powerful, right? And I think that that's the next one would be that we're going to have to start seeing science fiction where we aren't special, right? Considering, even in the best science fiction today, it's always about that humans are awesome and way more, and way just better in general than every other species. Mass Effect, for one. Which is actually, it's kind of referenced at some points, which I guess could be getting into, like, meta territory, but but yeah, I'd like to see that in the next alien-themed sci-fi.
Yeah. And I will be keeping an eye out for that.
Yeah. But, the next one on the list of that article was the simulation hypothesis, and that was basically that we're in a computer.
I find that one funny but interesting.
I find that interesting. It's kind of scary because on the scale it would have to be true, the scale would be enormous, right?
Yeah.
Because that means that technically everything in the observable universe would have to be programmed into this simulation in the same thing with us, right?
It's like the Matrix.
So that's
Sort of.
it.
Sort of like Matrix.
And if we assume that, and since this is the only reality that we know of, if the computer that we're in is based on the same physics and stuff like that we have here, that means that one computer simulation would be, I don't even know, there isn't even a word for that much memory.
Yeah.
Well, everything on Earth is screwed up, so we're obviously running on an AMD processor. 2 gigs of RAM.
And I was going to say, you've never had a Sims game that went the way you wanted it to?
We are a Sims game gone bad.
It's like,
gone really bad.
It's like, I know you're hungry. Finish reading the stupid book and you can, I'll give you food.
You walk outside. What is that gnome doing there? I'm in the need for some money. Gnome, hook me up.
Stop dancing and get to work.
Where are all these pinball machines coming from?
Oh my god, walls just magically appeared and built a house around me.
So yeah, but that would also assume, this theory would also have to take into consideration that the person working the program isn't, like we kind of discussed here, some sort of teenage sadistic bastard that's just kind of destroying us, right? We'd have to assume that they're some sort of like a just person. I guess you could move into some sort of religious computer god territory, but...
Well, Lee, was it? I think it was grade 12, there's first period history. And then every now and then I would come and, one time I came to your class and just kind of joined one of your debates for no apparent reason.
Well, that was your American history class, wasn't it? Or was that world history?
That was world history, I think.
World history, okay.
Yeah, and then I came into the class for one of your debates, and I just I think it was the social Darwinism debate.
Oh, that'd be a fun one for you to jump into.
Yeah, I brought that up as one of my topics for some reason. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Okay.
I kind of wish I redid that social Darwinism, because now my opinion on that is very, very strong, considering that it's just a complete bastardization and reversal of everything Darwin ever said, so...
Yes.
That's just
Welcome to planet Earth.
But, the next one is radio silence, and that's kind of similar to the quarantine hypothesis. And I'm just trying to skim this over to get the particulars, but it references like SETI, which is the search for extraterrestrial life, and it's just basically a giant like radio array that's broadcasting and receiving signals, or trying to receive signals.
Source of the WoW signal at one point.
Yes, but
that was cool.
One data point is not a result.
Yeah.
So.
One data point does not a conclusive study make.
It is for my assignments. It's called half-assing it.
But yeah, I think that radio silence is a complete possibility.
It's basically saying that if we're broadcasting signals into space, trying to get into contact with somebody, and then the government says this is actually like really dangerous and we could be just taken over at one point, so they shut down SETI. The theory basically says that could also be a reasonable path taken by every other potential race, right? They shut down their radio signals. So they're not sending or receiving because they think it's dangerous, right?
Yeah.
So
which is an entirely good possibility.
It's sort of like if we have a galactic junior high dance and everyone's just sitting against the wall. It's kind of like that.
Oh, I love how high school can relate to everything.
But, yeah, I think, honestly, I think that SETI's privately funded, so I don't really think that we can, that any government could actually shut it down, just based on funding reasons. So, to actually go ahead and put in some legislature to make it so that you can't broadcast random signals into space, I think would just be a total infringement on basic freedoms, right?
Yeah.
So, I for one would be mad just based on. I would be mad based on just that fact that they have no right to even stop that.
Mhm.
Until we have reason to believe that there is somebody out there and they're potentially hostile, then maybe we can talk about stopping it. But if right now we don't even have any reason to believe that other aliens even exist, so I don't really see the harm in it, right?
Yeah.
It would be like saying stop broadcasting signals into the water because there could be like monsters and they could come
be
attack
demon
us.
squids down there.
Right?
Watch out for Nessie.
So
You
yeah,
might want your tree fitty.
I was going to make that joke.
I think that I like the comedic timing for that one, so I'm not
That's
going to
pretty
complain about that. But I think that
I
that's...
made up for the terror that was last week.
I
That
think
was
that,
really
that
bad, Danny.
the radio silence one is plausible.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure most of these are plausible.
I
the
mean-
computer simulation
Okay,
one.
that's the computer,
the-
computer simulation is pushing it quite a bit.
I totally disagree with the computer simulation one. It would be impossible. Considering we probably have found a way to break the programming in some sort of basic way.
Yeah.
But we're moving back on topics. The next one, it says all aliens are homebodies. And so I don't remember what this one was about. I remember that I had to do a lot of research on what some of these things that they were mentioning on this. Like they were talking about a Dyson sphere. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I've heard of the Dyson sphere.
Yeah, I've heard of a Dyson sphere.
It was in an episode of Star Trek. In fact,
Yeah.
the picture you're looking at on the article is from that episode. Oddly enough,
Oh yeah,
it was the episode of the Next Generation. It was the episode of the Next Generation where Scotty made a cameo.
Hmm.
But no, a Dyson sphere. It's only a theoretical concept, obviously.
Well, the theory
But
of this is that they would have created like a Dyson sphere, and it basically they would have no reason to leave the sphere, so they wouldn't be exploring.
Yeah.
That's the theory that this is presenting.
I'm not really
Anyone
good at
care to explain
describing the
Dyson
Dyson
sphere to our listeners.
Pardon me? You just have to explain it? Because I'm not going to explain it, because I don't know how to properly explain it.
From what I gather, it's something like a giant supercomputer,
Yeah.
but it would be like the size of a solar system giant.
It is, yeah, because in the episode of Star Trek, the sphere inside is a sun. So you got the whole sphere, and then when the Enterprise went through the opening in the Dyson sphere, there was like a star or something in there.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page here, so it's just going to give me. It just gives you a broad idea of what it is, but it's basically just like it would be like a giant solar array, just like completely encompassing the thing and absorbing all of its energy. So it would be a super efficient solar panel. Yeah. And so you basically have
It's like the
unlimited
Death
amounts of
Star,
energy.
right? Hmm.
So with this energy, you would pretty much be able to create whatever you wanted.
We can do all the space science.
So then the theory is that with that, they wouldn't need to leave and go somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have to worry about...
to search for it.
The only thing they would need to worry about was their star collapsing or supernovaing, which would take billions of years, so...
At which point, power probably won't be their top issue.
I think the idea is a good one well, I'm just talking about Dyson spheres now, but I think that's seems like a good idea in the science fiction realm, but I can't see that happening in real life.
No.
It just doesn't. Well, first of all,
It seems too much effort.
the only way I could see it ever happening would be if you built it into a semicircle domes and then closed it. Because if you built it just in parts and kind of tried to build around it, to ensure that it would be a perfect sphere around this thing. Plus, we also don't know
Not very likely.
if enclosing a star would maybe cause some sort of buildup of gas and explode, right? Nobody's ever tested
too
that.
much solar radiation backlash or something.
Yeah.
We should test it.
Well, I mean, if you
NERDcast.
or
Science.
it could be sort of I guess it couldn't be like fire because fire needs air, but if you closed it off, maybe it could build up pressure just because of its constant, like, fissioning and reacting. And I don't know, there could be so many things that go wrong with enclosing a sun that what I'm going to assume is millions of years and an untold amount of money would be thrown down the drain as soon as this thing exploded, right? It is a literal all your eggs in one basket.
Investment.
And all the scientists are like, oh, we didn't see that coming.
Like, oh, now we can't get out of the solar system. Crap.
So yeah, I don't see anything like that ever happening. So to think that another alien race,
very likely to me.
to think that another alien race did it,
Or, all of them.
yeah.
Hard to believe.
Besides one, all of them. Enough so that they wouldn't explore. Yeah, it's out there. I don't think that's possible.
Very out there.
And but the next one is we just can't read the signs. And so it's basically like they're broadcasting. They are broadcasting things. They are doing things to get us to notice them, but we can't interpret them.
It's like one of those things where they're like in the background going, "Are you serious?
Well,
We are showing you everything, and you can't get it."
That could technically go both ways, where the aliens don't understand that we're trying to communicate.
That too. Well, it could be that they
On Voyager
either
1, they have those little picture thingies.
right. Well, I mean, they might not have any way of interpreting that. I guess, right?
They might not have eyes.
Yeah,
That's true.
And it could also be that or since like with SETI, right? We're broadcasting radio signals. What if they're not at the point of having radios yet, or they're past the point of having radio signals? It's not.
We only communicate with infrared.
So yeah, it could be something like that, right? So.
There's plenty of things. They could only communicate with colors. Like, I want a sandwich. Red, red, orange, blue. Red, red, orange, blue.
It's like some sort of galactic guitar hero. But this article basically mentions one of the best signs to demonstrate that something's happening would be to build like a giant shape or something like that. Just something that's obviously made by something intelligent and kind of put it in orbit around the sun.
Make a sphere.
Yeah.
Man-made sphere.
So that if somebody that was like, so if we were observing another planet from afar, and we saw this thing orbiting the sun of another, right?
I'm pretty sure the perfect sphere is the only thing that doesn't occur in nature.
I heard about that somewhere.
Yeah. I'm fairly confident it's impossible to get a perfect circle in nature.
Okay.
And I think I remember reading somewhere that the sun is the most perfect sphere ever observed in nature.
Yeah. So we must make one better. We must make a better sun.
I think that this is probably
jealous.
the most reasonable one that we've discussed so far.
No, I kind of like the next one, where humans aren't invited.
They're all hanging out at the edge of the galaxy.
They're all having a party, and Earthlings are like the only ones who are not invited at all.
We don't want you humans. Go away. That sounds like Mass Effect.
Or it's like they all have their intergalactic starships. Look at you.
Look, we just made it
Space
past
probes.
Pluto.
Oh, God. You guys aren't invited.
We can go past Pluto, guys. We're so cool.
Yeah, so
Bring
it
us to
could
space with you.
It could just be that they have some sort of like we have no way of seeing that they're all there, right? And that
Yeah.
So I guess that's plausible. I don't know of the. I think you'd have to actually know the way that the galaxy or the universe was set up,
Laid out.
more so than just a regular like a layman would.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one. It says directed panspermia. I have no idea what this is talking about. I have to.
Yeah, neither did I. I read it and just decided.
It's
Which
again.
number is
It's number 10. It's mentioning Star Trek again, so it has something to do with that.
Yeah, because that picture is actually from an episode of Star Trek.
Directive.
Oh, it's basically like the ancient alien theory.
Ancient alien. Yeah.
They come and they make life and then they leave.
It's like it's like the plot from Prometheus.
Yes, it
Did anyone
mentions
see
that in here.
Prometheus?
too.
No, I didn't. You just
Well, it's like
spoiled it for me.
I didn't spoil anything for you. That comes from the start of the movie.
I know.
Okay. It's like the plot for Prometheus.
So,
That
yeah.
didn't end well.
God, I can't believe Darth Vader is Luke Skywalker's father.
Damn it, Jenny! I haven't seen the movie yet.
If I took, considering it's basically the same thing, if I don't think the ancient alien theory is correct, then I can't really think that this is correct.
Yeah.
Because then that would mean that, or considering on Earth we have evidence of at least 2 different generations of things happening, right? We have evidence of the dinosaurs and humans.
And all the stuff before the dinosaurs, and the Ice Age, and all the stuff before the dinosaurs.
What was
Humans
that stuff?
originated from a fish.
What was that stuff?
It goes back a long ways. They're like the half reptile, half mammals, hybrid things.
We're going back hundreds of millions of years here.
Yeah.
So
And
like,
it was like there's like the time when it was nothing but marine like arachnids and crustaceans versus human fish.
so then that means that this theory would just basically it would either have to be at the very beginning, or it would have to come back every time that something like a cataclysmic extinction event happened and just kind of give it a prod in the right direction, sort of deal, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So
Boss, Earth has been wiped out again. All right, send him back.
I just did that yesterday.
Oh, again? That's the last time I helped them. I
Hasn't it
promise.
been a billion years already?
Billion? Too soon. Too soon.
But and the last one is saying that I don't think that's possible at all. Like it's
No,
just,
I don't think it's possible in the slightest.
If we were gonna take it back a step and say that like they come at a certain point in development and kind of like ascend you, then maybe. But to actually
kind of like the
spark
Protheans with the Asaris.
and the Solarian with the Krogan.
Krogan.
Oh, yep. Where they uplifted the Krogan.
Which I never watched the show, but I read that story's basically kind of almost exactly ripped off from like Battlestar Galactica. So, just giving that
Way
acknowledgement.
to go, BioWare.
Have no comment on this matter.
I never watched it.
BioWare does not comment on rumors and speculation.
But the last one is the phase transition hypothesis, and this just sounds like I'm going to have to read it or skim over it again.
Yeah. Okay, let's see what we got here.
Um,
Blah, 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 blah.
it's basically, it's talking about the.
Okay. Yeah, we sort of touched on this already.
It talks about the first thing is like talking about the rare earth hypothesis. So that, and then that wasn't even discussed in here. It could be that life is really rare. So maybe like out of the billions of planets that we potentially have, it could be that only like maybe a handful of them support life. So
Life could be a cosmic mistake.
Yeah.
So what did you get from? Did you read over that a bit, Will?
I did a little bit. It sounded to me like life is rare in the universe, and that's the only reason we haven't encountered it. That's basically what I got out of it. Is that what
So,
anyone
yeah.
else got?
It could be that
I'm getting the same vibe.
it could be that like I think what it's saying is that we could be on like the cusp of like cosmic evolution, so that it could be
So, like-
that planets are
Everyone's basically at the same point right now.
yes. So it could sort of be like if I guess it could kind of fit in a base form of like evolution, right? You have some sort of base thing like and galaxies like are formed off of other galaxies from like chunks going in other places, and it's like a common ancestor galaxy sort of deal, right? And we could just have you could get more and more planets just developing from other things, and you could get things like that, and it would be that we're at the beginning stages, so we're the first forms, right? And we could get other planets that develop after that have life, and it could be, let's say, like something like, I don't know, maybe 50 billion years in the future, if the galaxy or universe even exists at that point, it could be that like 1 in 10 planets have life on it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're still kind of in the early stages.
Yeah. I think
Well,
Which
we also
actually is entirely possible.
if you think of it in the fact like where this one says like only a handful of planets could support life, again, rumors have stated galaxy's big. That's still like it's hard to comprehend how many of those are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that goes with your like 1 in 10 planets. That's still millions of planets.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as it is right now, technically 1 in whatever number of planets we find has life on it. 1 in every single planet that we've ever found, because we're the only planet that has life on it that we know of. So.
I can almost picture like one of the extrasolar planets that we found so far, and we can't tell if there's life on it. There probably actually is life on it, and they're sitting there. I feel like I'm being watched.
You know that feeling you get sometimes where you're just sitting down and you're like, I feel like someone's watching me right now.
I had this urge to look up.
It could be like some sort of like they're stuck on the planet but they can't leave and they can't communicate because they don't have any devices, and so they just see us talking and it's like, we're over here, and it's like they're stuck on a deserted island.
You try to send out a message in a bottle and it's not working.
I can only throw it so high. I can't reach escape velocity with my arm.
This guy is too far. This guy is too far. No, I see that as a possibility.
This also says that the galaxy could be like too hostile, and there could be like it references gamma ray bursts and such like that. So it could be that as soon as a planet's like developing life, it gets wiped out because of, like something happens, right?
Yeah, that's also a possibility.
Or it could be like, since the sun has different phases, or stars have different phases, this planet could have been like out of the Goldilocks, and then when it goes to supernova, right, it comes into the Goldilocks zone, and then during that time period, it starts to develop life because it fits the criteria, right? But then at that point, the sun's already pretty much dead.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a pretty cool theory.
Technically, you could have a planet at any distance. Like, if it's super close and it's like in its coldest form, then life could develop. But as soon as it expands, that planet could be engulfed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a pretty cool thought.
So,
you know, life's just developing, and then they finally develop spaceflight, and then the sun blows up, and they all die.
Or it could be that there's like the sun or a certain star has like some sort of weird chemical makeup that causes it to have these horrific like firestorm of what's it called?
Murder.
Solar death. Like solar flares, right?
Yeah.
So the surface of the planets could just be totally burned, or even like radiation, right? Because that's another thing. Like, you could be in the Goldilocks zone all you want. You still have to have a certain atmosphere. Certain chemical makeup on the planet that can support, like, I guess, as of right now, the only way we know life exists is like ours, so we'd have to breathe oxygen and everything like that, right?
Exhale CO2, blah,
yes.
blah, 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 blah.
Of course, there is the possibility that that's not true. But as of right now, we don't have any proof otherwise, so we have to assume that every other life form would have these parameters.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot of things we still haven't figured out, and a lot of things that we still won't figure out in our lifetimes, at least. I can guarantee that.
All of a sudden, tomorrow, they have like a massive discovery that answers everything we've actually
talked about. We have found space.
And then
we have answered the ultimate question.
The subhead is Nerdcast proven wrong.
And at this point, we're like, we made it.
We made it to the big time, guys.
Send us to Mars, please.
Please now, please. Please make it.
It would be for study, for life and such. But I also had a theory that wasn't mentioned on this. What if during so let's say that there's another alien race and they visit Earth and they say, "Oh, we're here on behalf of the planet Clyblorb." Like, we just
Wait, what did you say?
Clyblorb.
Okay.
But I just made that up off the top of my head. But
genius.
But so then they land and then they say, "We're here on a peaceful mission to unite our species." And then, just because of the time that they arrived, a giant triceratops mows their ship over. Because they arrive when dinosaurs are on Earth. So then they kind of just get back on their ship and they go, "Oh, well, we're not going to come back here anymore because these guys aren't nice to us." And then they leave and never come back because they don't have any reason to believe that it has changed.
Okay, that just reminded me of another book that I read a little while ago that is sci-fi. It actually encompasses my favorite things: sci-fi, space, and dinosaurs. Okay, basically, imagine... Okay, you know there's a theory about multiple universes, right?
Yeah.
Well, it tells that it starts off with someone who supposedly survived the explosion of the last universe, and they've basically become the godlike character. But they don't have any direct influence over anything. They could, like, change gravity wells to sort of make life start shaping. And then basically, life starts shaping on Earth, the only place where it actually happens. And he starts shifting solar winds to get the life to disperse everywhere else. Because, like, the different types of bacteria and stuff going off into space. This doesn't make any sense, but it was really cool and I read it.
Yeah, considering
Anyways.
there's no wind in space, so...
Yeah, well, you know, solar currents, whatnot.
Well, that's
After
just
a while-
gravity, though, right?
Yeah. After a while, intelligent life, like with spaceships and everything, developed, and he went over there, or it went there and enlisted their help, and had them go back to Earth to find where life started. And basically, they took dinosaurs that they thought had potential and implanted them on another planet. And then the entire series is about the dinosaurs on this planet and their culture. And it was really cool. And that's my story.
Is this like that short-lived live-action 90s sitcom that was called Dinosaurs?
Probably. This book it's a really good book, though. For religion and stuff, because everyone's, like, worshipping this giant thing in the sky, when it's really just, like, a gas giant. And it's basically the story of the Galileo of the time.
Oh.
It's a good book. I'd recommend it. Don't remember what it's called, though. I have it kicking around somewhere.
There was also a terrible 80s cartoon called Dino-Saucers that you might like, though. And the basic theory is that these kids were abducted by these dinosaur aliens to help save the Earth, and they fight against other dinosaur aliens.
Okay, that sounds really weird.
Oh, it is.
Also awesome.
I'll link you the theme song when we're done here. The opening theme. So, but, I think that we've pretty much discussed that. So, what do you think is the most, after discussing all that, the most reasonable explanation of why we haven't ran into aliens and the Fermi Paradox?
I'm going to say radio silence.
That sounds plausible.
I think it's the exact, like the thing I said at the beginning. It's just the fact that they're limited by physics. So no matter how much they develop or what they do, I guess it still doesn't explain that.
Even aliens have to admire Einstein.
Yeah.
Well, if we did meet up with an alien race and then we said, oh, well, you can thank Einstein for that, I'd be like, no, well, we have our guy that thought that up, right?
We have our Einstein. Your Einstein is stupid.
Our Einstein has better hair.
Our Einstein's better than your Einstein.
Ours is a better mustache, so...